Morning, morning, everybody. Michelle is in the building on this Saturday, October the 7th, 2023. Okay. As you can tell, I like to have fun. And those of you that do not like to have fun and not take yourself so seriously and get all offended, I would swipe. And I will continue to swipe when you see my little cute face. Swipe, swipe, swipe. How about that? Hope everybody's doing fantastic, magnificently, and just everything's flowing properly, because I feel good like I know I should in the hood on the east side of town. How about that? Anyway, just watching neighbors with their dogs. I'm gonna be real honest. I know a lot of people are into animals, and everybody has a right to be into anything they want to be into. But I just want people to think clearly and effectively about animals and how our care of them can be essentially abusive. But I'll let everybody else consider that. I don't have animals for a reason, especially in my house. Okay, anyway. But I've been out with people that have animals in their house, and so I'm not against that at all. I'm just letting you know what I don't want animals in my house. But if I happen to get up with some friends that have animals, then what am I supposed to do? A lot of people take great care of their animals, despite the fact. So all I can do is commend them on it, but I'm just letting you know it. But no animal gonna be in my bed. How about that? That's not gonna happen. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm gonna end that first season or first series of podcasts, and then kind of take a couple of weeks of break, be reflective, and talk to my spiritual brother and see how we can make sure we are reaching the targeted audience, because I told you there's millions and millions of people with podcasts, so there's plenty of content for everyone, and there's plenty of content for you to follow and support if you choose to. There's no need to be concerned about content you don't support. Move on. That's logical. But to sit there and argue about stuff and attempt to bring people down, and it's a certain, let me just be very clear. I talked about foreigners, okay, and I made it clear that I was talking not foreigners to the country, but foreigners to the planet. How about that? And I'm gonna go into deep detail about that. But there's a segment of a population of people that are not foreigners per se. Let's start over. There's a large majority of our ancestors, our forefathers, our this, our that were foreigners to this planet. Okay? Accepted. Or not. How about that? And I think a lot of people are picking that up. Like I said, you can't fool your consciousness. And your consciousness is going to throw you into some experiences for you to resolve things. Okay? And become more logical, instead of basing your knowledge base, or basing your structure of your humaneness on beliefs. I believe we came from another planet. And so ask yourself, either we did or we did not. It's usually that's quite that simple. Either it's like if you go out to dinner with someone and you ask them, hey, do you want to use some chopsticks or do you want to use a fork? I believe I want to use a fork. Now, how would that sound to you? Like, what? Do you believe you want to use a fork and not chopsticks, or you what? That it just leads to a lot more unnecessary clarification. It ought to be clear and effective. Okay, do you want a fork or chopsticks? I want chopsticks. What do you want? You know what I mean? Anyway, like I said, I talked about foreigners to this planet. Okay, I'll go into more details about that later. But there's also there's a certain segment of human beings on this planet that kind of they had a process of coming to be that involved other factors. That's all going to make sense. And I'll come back to that. That they kind of came about or originate involving certain factors. All right, cool. Now, I know a lot of people get all excited when they realize, okay, they came from somewhere else. That gives a lot of people hope. But you need to think clearly and effectively about this. Let me just give you a storytelling. How about storytelling time? Okay, say for example, some of us came from the Sirius constellation that's out there, right? We know it's out there because we were told that it was there. The Sirius constellations. And I don't know if we can see it with our naked eye. Like I said, there's so many barriers to seeing clear sound, to hearing clear sound, and to seeing clear vision sometimes when it relates to this planet. There's too many things that have happened what I've witnessed, that there's intentional deception and manipulation of what we actually see in the sky. Okay, and there's a lot of fooling around and targeting certain areas of people based on their beliefs about UFOs or their beliefs about this and aliens and this and that and the other. And so they're going to be targeted more so with manipulation because they have such a strong belief in certain things. So say for example, some of us did come from the Sirius constellation, right? Now consider it, whether this is whether this is fantasy, myths. Say consider it. The Sirius constellation is developed into human beings that have a high consciousness. Okay. And they have their consciousness is high. They have a high consciousness level. Therefore, and their average lifespans was 1,000, around 1,000 years old. Okay, now consider this. If we supposedly came from the Sirius constellation and we had a high consciousness level, we had these highly developed skills and abilities, why would we come to Earth when the average age, no matter how much involvement, the average age right now is 100 years. Okay, so we're going to come from 1,000 years of the lifespan to come to a planet of 100 years at best. So you have to think clearly and effectively about that. So that means what? If were we escaping? Or what would be a purpose from coming from such a high advanced civilization to a planet barely surviving? Okay, so in other words, there's nothing glamorous about being foreigners on the planet. Nothing. Just consider what our current population of migrants are going through right now. Right? They are coming from deplorable situations in their homelands, which was caused by globalization, by the way. So in other words, their homeland was stripped of resources. So what are they going to do? They want to come to the land of milk and honey because we claim, a lot of our country, a lot of us in the USA, Europe, these so-called advanced or these so-called superior countries and regions and where else are they going to go? Okay, in other words, their country of origin was depleted intentionally of all of their resources. So where are they going to go to eat and feed their families and work? They're going to come to the land of milk and honey, right? And everybody's blaming everybody about the situation with how it all came about. But if you think about what happened with a former, was she a prime minister? I don't know. Let me see what her title is, or her title was. I think they call them, yeah, they call them chancellors. All right, no one's faulting the irresponsible and deadly behaviors of a former chancellor, a female, by the way. Figure it out. With her illogical welcoming people in and not considering the consequences of that. No one's going back to her and making her be held responsible for that. She caused a lot of this unnecessary confusion of, whether people are being welcome or not. Okay, her intentions, consider what her intentions were to do such a thing. Did she ask the citizens whether that's what they want? No, she just opened up stuff and allowed people to come in freely, no matter what their intentions were. So we keep wanting to blame this person, it's the damage is done. That's my point. So how are you going to resolve it? Okay, are you going to be whining like a baby and then sending people across the country like they're animals and cattle? Because no matter what anyone says, though there are some that claim to love animals, have hordes and hordes of animals, and that's just a means to an end. It's all about profit. They can care less about the animals, honestly. The animals are property, and they're not even seen as animals anymore. They're a commodity. That's why we had to have trading in commodities. Well, and that usually involves animals, right? I mean, and resources and this and that and the other. It's about a bottom line. It's not about any care at all about an animal. Okay? So, the damage has been done. Okay? The damage was seeped in for so long, and like I said, things were going on right in front of our faces, and nobody said a word. And, there's a certain queen, and I'm not going to say who, that was also involved in a lot of this erosion of Caribbean islands or those in that region. Stripped them of their resources and let them fight among themselves and eventually kill themselves. That was the plan. It's about, and that was the whole plan as well, about why there are certain foreigners on this planet. Okay, it was projected that they would kill themselves because they would run out of time to evolve their consciousness. Think about what I just said there. If a planet has an average lifespan of 1,000 years, and we navigate to a planet that barely makes it to 100, what does that mean? I told you, we all have a certain level of time to evolve our consciousness as human beings. And I told you, a lot of people, their time is out. Okay, so I just want to put that flavor in your ear, put some sound in your ear, give you something to contemplate and cultivate, meditate but not ruminate. How about that? It's about expanding your field of thoughts and look at possibilities. I mean, if we can create all of these video games, these movies, these gaming realities. I mean, I don't watch a lot of that stuff on television. You know, like these high developed. I mean, people are mesmerized by some of these depletion. These, you know, like I said, like a Star Trek, a Star Wars. I heard people say Game of. I don't know what that is. I don't watch it. You know, I don't watch that stuff. What is it called? You know, these sci-fi, high budget, you know, I mean, a lot of billions of dollars are put in it. Game of Thrones. See, I don't watch that. I have no idea what that's about. Oh, okay. It's an American fantasy drama television series. Okay. All right. That makes sense. I mean, it's turned into, you know, I mean, it has at least 17 seasons. So that means it's been around a while. I mean, if we can create that, you know, so that means that's coming from somewhere in our consciousness to be able to create and visualize something that's so high tech and so expansive to bring it to film, to bring it to movie, to bring it to a series. You know what I mean? So we are extremely creative, but we just need to tap into that properly and bring it out of a fantasy into reality. How about that? You know, and I remember this one season of this one. I mean, you know, it's lots of them, and at one point I thought I was going to sit down and watch it, but I just I don't have time. I don't have time. I know the value of time. Okay, I know the value of certain things that have to get done. Okay, we've been at this for 10 million, at least 10 million to 25 million years. And I know that's a hard concept to accept. You have to look at it on it. You know, you have to think in abstract terms sometimes and see the possibilities. Okay, so I wanted to put that in your ear on this Saturday morning. You know, because, you know, remember Saturdays back in the day for us, at least growing up, it was about cartoons. And I loved me some cartoons. You know, I enjoyed watching it. And then after a while, you know, we were kicked outside. We were told to get our ass outdoors so my mom can, you know, clean up the house and fix our dinner and blah, 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 and just have some time to herself. And then we go outside and fantasize and create and do whatever, you know, because we had plenty of things to play with outside. My dad made sure we had what we need. And then and then we were also allowed at some point to go down to a park that was right down the street within walking distance. I told you we had everything, but it was eroded, you know, silently eroded. You know, we had a hospital. I don't know if I said this. We had a hospital in our community growing up, but it had a mysterious fire and everything. You know, that's where my mom gave birth to most of us until the hospital burned down mysteriously. With all our records were in there too. I tried to get my records and I was not able to know, you know, to know what's really going on, because there was an issue with birth dates early on in my life. Okay, where I thought my birthday was one day, and it turns out it was something else. You know, and blah blah blah. You know, a lot of my siblings, we had some issues with our actual birth when we were actually born, because those documents were destroyed. I say it was an intentional fire. You know, but that's my theories and opinion. Has anybody heard of a hospital burning down? That's rare. Okay, and so they replaced them with clinics, which I say were labs. Okay, I told you there was a library there. We had schools there. And all of a sudden those schools were, you know, unsafe to teach. So we had to go be bussed somewhere else. See, a lot of you young people don't know. That's why I say you need to step back a little bit and stop pointing fingers at, you know, at older generations of people. Yeah, there was some complacency and some irresponsibilities. Okay, but a lot of you young people have no clue. That's why I am doing the best I can to let you know. This damage was done in the 70s, before most of you were born. Okay, the population was steadily rising, but for some reason during the 90s and above, the population exploded. Okay, so that's why we have so many, so many young people. A relatively high number of populations being born, say for the middle 80s and beyond that, because the damage was done in the 70s. The results began in the middle 80s and above. So if you were born around the 80s and above, okay, you have no clue if you hadn't investigated and researched it. You have no clue of what damage was done to particular cultures, especially black culture. And I know a lot of people get upset and want to project assumptions, and they have no clue of the damage that was done, which resulted in where they are now. Okay? And the experiments that devastated consciousness of people. Experiments on their body, interfering with their hereditary properties, which I told you is a very important concept and a reality to be researched. If a particular race of people are carriers of hereditary properties, what does that mean to you? Research it. So I'm saying this to young people. You have no clue. Okay, but you go around as if you know everything. And that knowledge is coming from you. No, it isn't. Knowledge comes comes to you. And you cultivate it and contemplate it based on your experiences, into a grounded reality. And that would open you up to the possibilities and take you out of fantasy and hallucination and delusion. That's my responsibility, to do the best I can, and plus others. Now, it's your choice. You have free will. What you want to do with it. I'm not going to stop until I'm going to keep this going. All right, so I'm going to stop right there on this Saturday. Peace and love, everybody, and trust me, I'll be back.